My definition of success is always changing. Sometimes it's like a milestone and being like, I want to do this, right? But then you do that and you're like, okay, well, what's the next thing I want to do? What's the next sort of expansion? What's my next evolution as an artist? And so I think because as an artist, I feel like I'm always like trying to look for the next sort of evolution, but I don't ever really feel like I've ever reached a sort of level of success. What's up, everybody? My name is Zeno Robinson. I am an actor and voice actor based in Los Angeles. You can hear me in such products as Big City Dreams, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Gachiakuta, and many, many more.
Zeno, welcome. I have so many questions, but first thing I really want to kick off with is your origin, because you started off with an audition with the All About Kids program that landed you with a talent agency.
Yeah.
What was that audition process like? Because it was with a talent agency first.
It was, as you probably know, it was about like 10 weeks of training. So you would train in, they did like a showcase kind of thing, but then at the end of the training, you showed up to the school, and the school was like located in a church. So you went upstairs and there was a hallway, and like with like separate rooms in the hallway. So each room had like 2 or 3 chairs outside of it. So essentially what you would do is you would sit outside and you would wait for the agent to call you, and you would go room to room doing your whatever you trained to do. So we had been trained to do a monologue from something written. I wrote my own. I had written this, at the young old age of 14, I had written this monologue. And so I went from room to room performing the monologue to a bunch of different agents. I don't recall ever being like nervous or anything like that. I think maybe I was nervous because this was one step closer to what I wanted to do, which was like be on TV. But yeah, like that was the process. I just went and I auditioned from room to room. 2 of the agents ended up being interested in me. One of them being an agent who I do not remember. But the other was, I believe, either Carolyn Schur or Melissa Berger over at CESD. And I had a meeting with both agents. The first agent, she felt like I was a different person than the person I showed, she was like, it was a different Zeno. And I think I was just tired. It was like really early in the morning for me. But I met with CESD as well. They both were interested in signing me. But the first agency wanted to sign me in like some months, and CESD wanted to sign me immediately. And so we went with the immediate option.
Yeah. No, because I would assume that like being like a voice actor or an aspiring voice actor at the time, that was probably just the easiest decision of your life when they say, oh, we want you now.
Actually, I think I remember like being like, I'm not too sure about the CESD people. The other one really liked me. But my mom was like, no, CESD, they have a great resume. They have great talent. Like I looked them up. I think they're the move, and they want to sign you right now. And I was like, okay. I was like, sure, whatever gets me there faster. So, and then CESD, Carolyn, I still talk to Carolyn to this day. So they ended up being really near and dear to me and very beloved to me. So clearly that was the right move.
Clearly it was. After that audition, what were some of the noticeable differences between your CESD audition and the ones that followed for actual projects?
None. I mean, like almost all my auditions were from CESD. Even kind of now, a lot of them come from CESD. But I think I think the big thing is I signed with them specifically commercially at first. But then they were like, well, let's just send them out on everything. And I think not too long. At some point within that year, I had booked Ben 10. So like I booked my first big voiceover thing. Not too long after I got signed.
Yeah, because that was actually one of the unique things that I found out about you is that Ben 10, Alan Albright, which because I had watched Ben 10 growing up, so learning that about you and that being your first role, so like since that first audition when you got Alan Albright and then moving on throughout that project, after that, how has your definition of success changed from when you began?
That's a good question. I think I don't know. My definition of success is always changing. I think sometimes it's finding a milestone and being like, I want to do this, right? Like, here's the thing I haven't done as an actor yet, and I want to do that. But then you do that, or you do something close to it, and you're like, okay, well, like, what's the next thing I want to do? What's the next sort of expansion? What's my next evolution as an artist? And so I think because as an artist, I feel like I'm always like evolving, or I'm always trying to look for the next sort of evolution, but I don't ever really feel like I've ever reached a sort of level of success. You know what I mean?
You're always chasing it. It's something that you can't fully grab because you're just gonna keep being motivated by the next big thing.
Yeah, like I feel like you're always chasing. I never want to like be stagnant or content. So you're always like chasing after the next sort of goal, the next milestone. And I think because of that, like, it doesn't necessarily ever feel like I'm successful, you know?
Yeah. And like in that journey of chasing success, what's one performance trait that young Zeno did that you still try to keep in your acting process today?
I just think like young Zeno was a freer actor. Like, he was more playful and more spontaneous as an artist. And he was more like, he just like, his main focus wasn't about like working or reaching any sort of levels of success or doing anything like that. It was just more so about like, I want to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, that was my main driving, motivating factor. So I think in every role I do since then, I try to like keep that close to the heart. Is like, how do I approach this like I would have as a kid, as something just fun, like not putting a lot of pressure on myself to like achieve a thing, right? Like, we were just talking about success, and like sometimes that comes with like wanting to achieve something. So like, that wasn't my focus as a kid. Like, I just wanted to do cool things. I just wanted to like work on cool things, and like I wanted to like, I don't know, like be very presentational and stuff like that. So that's typically what I try to keep close to me. Like, I'll listen back to my like older auditions and I'll be like, man, I was so rusty, but you know, like I could tell I was like fully invested and I was having a lot of fun. So that's kind of what I want to keep close to me from my younger self.
Of course, because going forward, you've done so many amazing things. You've voiced so many interesting characters. Hawks, of course, one of your most notable roles, would lead you to receiving the Best Voice Artist Performance Award in 2021, a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so obviously casting fits into things like that, and also just your raw ability as an actor. But what is something that you feel casting directors can do in things like character briefs to prevent actors from falling into superficial archetypes based on things like character art?
I think the more succinctly a casting director can describe a character's sort of inherent soul, the easier I think it is for an actor to like begin to sort of play with that. the more context you can give what's happening in a given moment and how a character feels about it, right? If you tell me if Hawks is talking to Endeavor in a scene, and you tell me that like, here's Hawks, he's like the coolest guy in the world. Here he is talking to another pro hero, right? That's one way to look at the context of the situation. But if you're saying, you know, as an aside, Hawks looks up to Endeavor, you know, just like everybody looks up to All Might, Hawks more so has a special connection with Endeavor. That gives actors something to another layer, another nuance to add to the character. You know what I mean? Like, and I think like that can give actors sort of the emotional life of the character, as opposed to trying to stay true to sort of the the surface level archetypes that we're very used to hearing from things like anime and stuff like that. I think like the more specifics and the more context they give us, the more they can tell us about how a character emotionally is feeling, the stakes of what they're going through. And some of that is our work too. You know, I think that some of that is like on us as actors to sort of to come up with that ourselves. But I think like that just helps, you know, I think helps us dig a little deeper.
Obviously, with things like that, you also have mentioned before that you've done deep research into roles, especially with like reading the mangas and things like that. Has your preparation for when you audition for a character or any kind of project changed really since you started, or the way you approach someone in the booth before you actually step into it?
Yes, because I think over time I began taking some more like classes and like learning in school and acting school about how prep work is, how integral prep work is, how essential prep work is, and how much it can really change the way you interpret a character, the way you approach a character. So like when I started, of course, I was young and I was just trying to have fun. So I was just sort of working with the words I had. But like when we get into prep work and we get into talking about building a character or building the arc of a scene, learning about like the flow of a narrative, then we start digging into sort of deeper nuances and complexities and what is this character going through in this moment and things like that. And it becomes, how do I emotionally resonate with this character? And a lot of that is in the prep work, right? A lot of that is in creating the specifics. And so the more like, the more in-depth studying and learning I did, the more in-depth prep work I could do so I could get more in-depth with the characters that I play.
And yeah, because you've played a plethora of anime characters. Like one of my favorites is Jabber in Gachi Akata.
Thank you.
And because yeah, that character was, you gave a lot more cadence than I had heard from almost any other kind of voice performance. And so like with that preparation you were just talking about, like has it been easier to kind of find that line that goes between the original Japanese performance and then making a character culturally resonant for an English speaking audience?
I think with Jabber, I sort of had the benefit of culturally sort of, you know, I think Gachi Akata is inspired by so many different cultures and so many different, you know, like societal norms and sort of even the rebelling against those norms. There's graffiti culture and there's street culture, and you know, it's in the character design, it's in the music, it's in the races of the characters. And I think I just I benefit from being being really close to those cultures. And so because I think I had this like special opportunity with Jabber to sort of blend, you know, integrating that culture into the things that Jabber says and does. And I think that was a sort of, you know, as I like work in this field and I navigate sort of like we're saying, like that character work, who is this character, where do they come from, what are they inspired by, what is their background? I play a character named Shiki Ichinose in Togenanki on Netflix, and he's like another character that's like very rebellious, and he's kind of a delinquent, and like a lot of delinquent culture is rooted in street culture, Japanese street culture, which I think has some influences from Western American street culture and Black culture. So in all of those things, I try to sort of bring what I know and bring myself into characters like Jabber and characters like Shiki. In I think just giving it a little je ne sais quoi here, a little move and a little shake there helps. I think viewers, especially if you're saying Jabber's one of your favorites, I think it just helps tether you a little bit more into the character and immerse you a little bit more into the world, and gives it a bit of a unique flair than sort of some of the more standard anime we see these days.
Yeah, that certainly translates, because it was definitely, it's just Jabber isn't just my favorite character. Gachi Akata was actually one of my favorite animes, because I don't usually delve into it, because sometimes I feel like, oh, it follows that same storyline or character type almost. And then Gachi Akata approached it in such a dynamic way, especially when it comes to vocal performance, because I usually prefer to listen in the dub, but I also will, like, once I do that, I'll go back and I'll listen in the original sub version. So exactly things like that. But so me being a fanboy, that kind of relates to my next question, because being a voice actor and being a dubbing artist requires you to really have fun. It's not really a requirement. It's usually just something that comes with the territory.
It's usually,
So like with things, when it comes to the fan base of these projects, what is one of your favorite things about interacting with that fan base?
I really think it's kind of a little bit similar to what you're saying. Like the reason you do what you do is because you're a fan of all these things, right? Like, you as a fan, you were influenced by the things that you love, and now here we are talking about it. And I think that's sort of one of my favorite aspects is I know at my core, regardless of if me and the other person agrees or whoever their favorite character is or blah, 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 like, me and this other person were both brought together by our shared love for this medium, or both brought together by our shared love for this show or for anime or for gaming or for whatever it is. I just think that's my favorite. As a fan, it's fun to talk to other fans. It's fun to talk to other people who resonate with the property or resonate with the thing that you like. And so it's just always cool. Like, I try not to approach something as like actor to fan. I try to have all my interactions be fan with fan, mutual fans of the same thing, just sort of celebrating it together, because that's really what I think it's all about at the end of the day. Yeah.
And do you feel like you can have that sort of interaction with other voice actors as well, because you've obviously have an amazing cast to work with on so many different projects? So like Demon Slayer, Gachi Akata, and I also saw a lot of your older stuff with Alex Lee as well.
Yeah, I mean, typically, like, now we're in an era where, like, a lot of my peers and a lot of, like, my current generation of and even I think the generation after us, like, we're all just fans of this stuff. Like this isn't just work for us, isn't just how we pay our bills. We grew up on these shows. We grew up like with the dub actors we heard growing up, and so a lot of us are sort of trying to follow in their footsteps and trying to sort of carry their batons. And so, a lot of us end up being fans of things before they become anime, and then we hope that we get to be in the anime. That was a very specific thing with me with Gachi Akata. Like, there is literally a tweet of me from like 2022 talking about how cool Jabber's design is, before knowing there was an anime, before ever having an inkling that I would play the character, just like as a fan of the manga. So that tends to sort of happen a lot with us as actors. We end up sort of becoming fans of the properties, and then it becomes a blessing when we when we get to be in them.
Yeah. Yeah, that brings about like so many different like mindsets. It's like, oh, you can do so many different things when it comes to being a fan, and then eventually it could be fate that then lands that kind of a role right in your lap. But yeah, there's different ways of looking at it. So obviously you've not just done anime, you've done Western animation, so things like The Owl House, Ben 10, and then also interactive video games, Street Fighter 6, Persona 3, just to list a few, Genshin Impact. When it comes to like that variety of mediums, do you feel that you have any purposeful vocal shifts when you work across those mediums?
Yeah, I try to approach every single project as if they're special. So like the way I approach Genshin will be completely different than the way I approach Persona, which would be completely different than the way I approach Street Fighter, just for the sheer nature of these are three distinct worlds. But those three, I don't try to approach it like these are all video games and these are all anime, right? I try to approach it like this is what the world of Gachiakuta sounds like, and this is what the world of My Hero sounds like, and this is what the world of Fire Emblem Engage sounds like, you know. So it only changes as much as I think the world, the narrative, and the tone of the project demands it to be. You know, I can't act, you know, I can't sort of act in the same tone for The Owl House as I would for Friday the 13th. You know, like they're just two different mediums that require two different sort of aspects of my skill set to immerse the player or the audience or the viewer. So I think games tend to try to be a bit more cinematic, and that's the typical the standard. Like typically what is the difference is like games tend to be like try to be a little more cinematic, and they try to be a bit more grounded, and they try to be a bit more like subtle in it, and a little more subtle than everything else in how they want it to sound. But typically, you know, I try to approach it all based on like sort of the world it encompasses. You know, one cannot perform the same in The Last of Us as they would in Genshin Impact. It's like two different worlds.
Yeah, I always find it like interesting when I see things like AMVs, so where like they take like a song and then they mash a bunch of animes together. Yeah. I think like that kind of dynamic is like going between Genshin and then Last of Us Part 2, just like acting wise, just like if you could somehow find one song that blends them together just know, right. Yeah. but yeah, so yeah, you've been a part of like big IPs, like really big out there projects that have captivated the minds of millions. How does it feel when you are chosen to be a critical part of those IPs?
It is really nerve-wracking. I think the pressure sort of drives me to work harder, right? Like I have all of these tools at my disposal. I have all of these years of training, and I also have sort of the added weight of everything and everyone that came before me. But I also typically, a lot of these big IPs are IPs that like I've been a fan of. So I have this sort of lifetime wealth of knowledge and experience, sort of symbiotically to the thing that it sort of galvanizes me to work more specifically, be more dedicated and just be more picky isn't the word, but sometimes when I work, I just get really, really specific. I get really, really pedantic. I ask for 4th, 5th, 6th takes if I feel like I'm bringing down a production. I'll be like, look, this is an important scene, and I just feel like I have to sort of dig in a little bit here. So sort of the pressure of the big IP or the pressure of the big franchise actually, I think, emboldens me to work harder in order to sort of live up to that legacy. So it's always a tremendous honor, and I try to sort of honor that honor by always giving it 200% of what I have, give it everything and more, and try to leave nothing unsaid, leave everything on the table.
Yeah, I would say you've definitely gone above and beyond in that regard. You've not just left it on the table, you kind of left it on the table, on the floor, you've left it just about everywhere.
Everywhere, right?
But yeah, so realistically, with all these things you've done, is there anything that you currently have going on that you can tell us about, that you're free to basically just blab about?
I mean, it's public knowledge that the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man wants to release a season a year. So, in keeping up with that promise, we're supposed to get season 2 this year, I think in the fall. And I think that's public knowledge, but something I can say. Of course, Harry is in it. I can't say what he does, of course, but of course, Harry will be in it. And that I'm really excited for people to see season 2. There's a lot of really fun, exciting things they have cooking. I think everybody will be really, really happy. The anime I mentioned earlier, Togen Anki, that's getting a season 2, which will be coming out in October of this year. So if there are people who enjoyed that, there will be more of that on the way. I'm in the show called Big City Greens, and we're always making more of that. So, people who are fans of that, we're still plugging away at Big City. Is that it? That's all I can say? Probably. It. I recently was announced as Hajime Kashimo in Jujutsu Kaisen, and what's funny? I thought that I didn't know this season would be so short. It was only 12, 13 episodes. I thought we would get a 26 episode season this time. So I was in other interviews, I was like, oh, I can't wait to do the big fight. There's this fight coming up that I can't wait. If you guys read the manga, and now I have to sort of be in the next season, I guess. I guess whenever that comes out. But yeah, so there's supposed to be Kashimo, if it follows the manga, should return in the next season of Jujutsu Kaisen.
I had a coworker and we were actually talking about how short the season was and how we were kind of we were building up with anticipation leading up to it, and that we were still blown away, but we were like, really? That's it?
Yeah. I was like, oh, that explains why all the fights look so good. That explains the budget.
Yep. All budget goes there. That's all. Yeah. That's all it is. Fantastic. Oh, all right. So we have some quickfire questions. We have 5 quickfire questions for you, Zeno.
Rapid. Let's do it.
Right. So basically, I'll ask them. You say the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. So first question: what is a line you've recorded that's still in your head?
There's I try to find Remy's voice before every recording, and he goes, that's nice. So I say it all the time. If I'm trying to find a voice in that register, if you hear me go just randomly, it's me trying to make sure I can still do Remy. I think that's the one thing that has stayed with me for years.
Perfect. Now this one's usually quite hard. Can you sum up your voice acting career in one word?
Blessed.
Oh, perfect. That was so easy for you. All right. And then question number 3. What is the weirdest thing you've done physically to get a voice right?
Choke myself. Hawks has a damaged voice in I think season 5 or 6, and in order to sort of replicate that, I was literally in the booth doing this, so that way I'm constricting my pipes and it sounds like it's damaged. So that's literally, I mean, I've literally also done games where I've had to be choked, so I am literally choking myself to be choked. So
oh god, that must be
probably
taxing.
The weirdest thing. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but it makes me feel like it's a little more realistic.
there's no like set way. There's no rules you really have to follow except say the lines and do it right and do it good. But yeah, all right. Question number 4. Are there any dream projects that you would be eager to work in?
Yes. My first one is static. Anything static related for DC or Milestone would be cool. Ninja Turtles, Kingdom Hearts. Is that it? I feel like there's more. Oh, The Last of Us. Anything, a Naughty Dog game, any sort of Naughty Dog game, that would be super duper cool. Or Remedy. Any, like, love the Remedy verse. Any Remedy game would be a dream come true. Honestly, truly.
There really are so many things to look at.
Control Resonant. I'm so excited for Control Resonant.
Yep. All right, and finally, what is there a vocal performance that you have enjoyed recently?
I mean, I love a lot of my peers and what they do. The Witch Hat Atelier dub trailer just dropped maybe a week ago, and everybody sounds so good. Anjali sounds amazing as Coco, and Joshua Waters sounds awesome as Keyfree. My friend Maddie is in it as Agate, and so and Maddie sounds great as Agate, and they're all doing accents, which I think is hard to pull off in anime. I think that's one of the hardest things to sort of justify in an anime is everyone having British accents, and they all sound great. They all sound excellent. And that's led by Emily Fajardo, and I think Emily is incredible. So I was just watching that trailer, and a lot of people were pulling for Joshua to be Keyfree. So I always love it when we have a Kira Buckland situation where everybody sort of believes in an actor to achieve this sort of dream role of theirs, and then they actually do it. So it's always really special, and you can hear how special that is in that trailer. So I just remember being wow, this is all great. I need to brush up on my English accent. I love performances that inspire me to be better as an actor, and I think that trailer was one of those things.
Yeah, the British accent is definitely one of the harder things to do, considering how, interestingly, British people are able to do American accents so well, yet Americans struggle to do British accents a lot more.
I think it's because British people know, they're I'm gonna work in Hollywood, and so I have to perfect this in order to not, in order to work in Hollywood with all this acting training I've done. I have to perfect. I think there are actually American accent specific acting classes in London, and we're a little spoiled, so we feel like we don't have to learn another accent because Hollywood is here.
Yeah, because that's an interesting perspective that I actually never really heard for that argument. So I think I'm just gonna use that line from now on. Zeno, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me. It has been an absolute pleasure hearing from you.
Pleasure has been mine. I appreciate you. No, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Behind the Mic. If you enjoyed the conversation and you want to hear more from the voices behind your favorite characters, then be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to check out our other interviews as well as voiceover tips and industry news at Voquent.com or on our social media. See you next time.